do a Froning and Friends. Realized we have a Froning and Friends for this week, but we do not have an Into the Storm. So here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, we've been kind of hit or miss on these with some travel and whatever. Gilligan
Has a
bread out
big
of
giant
Gilligan.
piece of bread.
He's just living his life.
Steal it from him. Yeah, put it in the trash can. Huh? Yes. No.
So Gilligan,
Just
Rich's
tell-
dog,
remind
has a
him.
giant piece of bread over here.
Be nice. My goodness, that was so dramatic.
Now, they're pretty good about, ever since they were puppies, when they would start eating, I would just, like, either take their food away or
Yeah.
like, put my hand in there and they'd eat around it just so they get used to, especially with the kids.
Yeah.
Gil looks so different.
Gipper, you mean?
You mean
Gipper,
Gipper.
sorry,
What was
that's
it
so
that you were saying that you were on a walk with the dogs the other day and one of them was eating something in the woods
Yeah.
and it freaked you out?
Well, I went on a walk with them, and usually I really enjoy my time walking with them because they stay with me for the most part, except for that one time. But this time they found something that was dead, and they were eating it, and so I was like, come, like, because you're ruining my walk because now you're not coming with me, and we're up in the woods. And they wouldn't come, so by the time I got them to come, I walked them all the way back down here and then said, stay, and went without
Did
them.
they stay?
Can you imagine how much easier that would be if you just went on your walk and you didn't
But
worry about it?
last
Like,
time when I left Gil, he didn't come back.
Yeah, he went to a neighbor's house and was just like, oh, I like
Chill.
this place.
So
Really?
now, yeah.
Okay, so you got to kind of pay attention.
Otherwise, I would like let them do their own thing. But after
When we
that
first
one
moved
time,
up here, they would run to Dad's.
okay,
That's
yeah.
a long ways, man.
Stay there. Because they know Dad's. I don't know how the heck they did it 2 days in a row. Got there and just
That's
stayed at
crazy.
Dad's.
At least drive back and get Gilligan.
I know,
Right.
right? And then we got them fixed, and they haven't left since.
That's good.
I was like, all right, boys, I tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Screwed it up.
How-
Yep, so impromptu, Into the Storm.
Oh, never
It was
mind.
supposed to be, go ahead.
No, I'm
No.
just jabbering and we
Alright.
probably need to get to it.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
we got nothing but time, man.
I don't know. I'm kind of pissed.
About what?
You have really amazing dogs, and
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Now you know how I feel about cats.
Yep.
You don't like cats,
No, I can't.
and
say
you
that.
have the best cat on the
I have a
planet.
pretty cool cat, actually.
It's a good cat.
Except for when I walk out of the garage and it's.
But how does that work? How does that work? How is it that
You
it
don't
all
show 'em
works
any
out for
attention
you that way?
whatsoever.
Oh my goodness.
Somehow
Yeah.
he hates cats and he gets the best
terrible.
cat.
Yeah, they're not.
Miley is
Okay,
pretty cool.
I'm sorry. I'll let
And
it go
Haley, I
now.
don't ever see that cat.
Yeah. What is she doing?
I think it's just because her name's Haley and she just knows.
Uh,
All right. Yes. So we have myself. Chase joined us. Chase in the house today.
Yay.
Thought he was gonna just talk Froning and Friends, but now he's gonna have to talk about the Bible.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Oh.
Asia is here. Jim. All right, I'll pray us in and we'll go. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this group we have gathered here. Thank you for their hearts for you, Lord. I just pray that whatever is said is your spirit, and if anybody needs to hear it, that they hear it. Just pray that we would glorify you in all that we do and make your name known. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
2 Samuel 19. Joab rebukes the king. Word soon reached Joab that the king was weeping and mourning for Absalom. As all the people heard of the king's deep grief for his son, the joy of that day's victory was turned into deep sadness. They crept back into the town that day as though they were ashamed and had deserted in battle. The king covered his face with his hands and kept on crying, "O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son." Then Joab went to the king's room and said to him, "We saved your life today and the lives of your sons, your daughters, and your wives and concubines. Yet you act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves. You seem to love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that your commanders and troops mean nothing to you. It seems that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died, you would be pleased. Now go out there and congratulate your troops, for I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a single one of them will remain here tonight. Then you will be worse off than ever before." So the king went out and took his seat at the town gate, and as news spread throughout the town that he was there, everyone went to him. Meanwhile, the Israelites who had supported Absalom fled to their homes. And through all the tribes of Israel, there was much discussion and argument going on. The people were saying, "The king rescued us from our enemies and saved us from the Philistines." But Absalom chased him out of the country. Now Absalom, whom we appointed to rule over us, is dead. Why not ask David to come back and be our king again? Then David sent Zadok and Abiathar the priests to say to the elders of Judah, "Why are you the last ones to welcome back the king into his palace? For I have heard that all Israel is ready. You are my relatives, my own tribe, my own flesh and blood. So why are you the last ones to welcome back the king?" And David told them to tell Amasa, Since you are my own flesh and blood, like Joab, may God strike me and even kill me if I do not appoint you as a commander of my army in his place." Then Amasa convinced all the men of Judah, and they responded unanimously. They sent word to the king, "Return to us and bring back all who are with you." So the king started back to Jerusalem. And when he arrived at the Jordan River, the people of Judah came to Gilgal to meet him and escort him across the river. Shimei, son of Gera, the man from Behiram in Benjamin, hurried across with the men of Judah, to welcome King David. 1,000 other men from the tribe of Benjamin were with him, including Ziba, the chief servant of the house of Saul, and Ziba's 15 sons and 20 servants. They rushed down to the Jordan to meet the king. They crossed the shallows of the Jordan to bring the king's household across the river, helping him in every way they could. As the king was about to cross the river, Shimei fell down before him. "My lord, the king, please forgive me," he pleaded. "Forget the terrible thing your servant did when you left Jerusalem. May the king put it out of his mind. I know how much I sinned. That is why I have come here today, and first person in all Israel to greet the Lord the king." When Abishai, son of Zerah, said Shimei should die, for he cursed the Lord's anointed king, "Who asked your opinion, you sons of Zerah?" David exclaimed, "Why have you become my adversary today? This is not a day for execution, for today I am once again the king of Israel." Then turning to Shimei, David vowed, "Your life will be spared." Now Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, came down from Jerusalem to meet the king. He had not cared for his feet, trimmed his beard, or washed his clothes since the day the king left Jerusalem. "Why didn't you come with me, Mephibosheth?" The king asked him. "Whatever," replied, "My lord the king, my servant Ziba deceived me. I told him, 'Saddle my donkey so I can go with the king,' for as you know I am crippled. Ziba has slandered me by saying that I refused to come, but I know that my lord the king is like an angel of God. So do what you think is best, all my relatives, and I could expect only death from you, my lord, but instead you have honored me by allowing me to eat at your own table. What more can I ask?" "You've said enough," David replied. "I've decided that you and Ziba will divide your land equally between you. Give him all of it." Mephibosheth said, "I am content just to have you safely back, my lord king." Barzillai of Gilead had come down from Rogelim to escort the king across the Jordan. He was very old, 80 years of age, and very wealthy. He was the one who had provided food for the king during his stay in Mahanaim. "Come across with me and live in Jerusalem," the king said to Barzillai. "I will take care of you there." "No," he replied, "I am far too old to go with the king to Jerusalem. I am 80 years old today, and I can no longer enjoy anything. Food and wine are no longer tasty, and I cannot hear the singers as they sing. I would only be a burden to my lord the king. Just go across the Jordan River with the king is all the honor I need. Then let me return again to die in my own town, where my father and mother are buried. But here is your servant, my son Kimham. Let him go with my lord the king and receive whatever you want to give him." "Good," the king agreed. "Kimham will go with me, and I will help him in any way you would like, and I will do for you anything you want." So all the people crossed the Jordan with the king. After David had blessed Barzillai and kissed him, Barzillai returned to his own home. The king then crossed over to Gilgal, taking Kimham with him. All the troops of Judah and half the troops of Israel escorted the king on his way. But all the men of Israel complained to the king, "The men of Judah stole the king and didn't give us the honor of helping take you, your household, and all your men across the Jordan." The men of Judah replied, "The king is one of our own kinsmen. Why should this make you angry? We haven't eaten all of the king's food or received any special favors, but there are 10 tribes in Israel." And the others replied, "So we have 10 times as much right to the king as you do. What right do you have to treat us in such contempt? Weren't you the first to speak of bringing him back to our king? Weren't we the first to speak of bringing him to be our king again?" The argument continued back and forth, and the men of Judah spoke even more harshly than the men of Israel. That was long.
That was
Yeah,
a lot.
that was a lot for
That
you
was
to read.
A lot,
Good job.
a lot. Like I can see the scroll on the
Yeah.
side, and I'm like, oh
Oh,
no.
wow, we're not there yet.
Got a long way
In
to
my
go.
head, there's so many different things going on while I'm reading.
Yeah.
And then the Mephibosheth,
I feel like
The
him
hypo-
sometimes. Like I can't enjoy food or wine anymore.
Oh.
I'm
'Cause
just
you're so
going home
old.
to die. I'm so
Oh,
old.
stop.
Just kidding.
I mean, there's not a
There's not
there's
a
a
ton.
lot
Yeah,
in
a
there,
lot
but
of
there's
words.
not a lot. A lot of words and not a lot. I think the biggest thing for me is in the beginning and the very end. A lot of the stuff in the middle is just kind of details of the story. But I think Joab rebuking David and being like, "Hey, for lack of better term, sack up and you know,
Yeah.
let's
Mm-hmm.
be a king here." You know, I understand that. Hey, your son is dead. You know that sucks, but your son is also the one that betrayed you, and all these men stood beside you and fought for you. And so Joab gets a bad rap, and he is kind of a prick.
Yeah.
But I think here he's 100% in the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the truth.
Yeah, heck yes, but
Exactly.
be a leader, man.
Represents the truth.
But you know what's kind of cool is Joab has those miles with David where he can say,
Yeah.
hey, you can tell him the truth,
Mhm.
and he doesn't have to really worry about his life.
Yeah, I found it interesting that so Joab tells him the truth, which was exactly what David needed, but then David replaces Joab with Amasa. So I felt like I know he did what was wrong in killing Absalom,
Mhm.
but then he kind of did what was right, and he was still like, no, you're out. So I don't really know what that dynamic was all about, and found it interesting that David was just like, yes, thank you, and peace.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, it's like I was first loyalty is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yep.
And I'm always wrestling with this idea of what's the right definition of loyalty. And I get asked that question a lot. And I love to go to David
Yep.
just as an example.
Yep.
Give what's deserved. Justice.
Uh-huh.
Not, like be just. Do what's right by people based on what they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
On the grace side of things, but all the way to the truth side of things. And it's interesting that David, for whatever reason, as he got a little bit older in that platform, he got a little softer, and then he just kind of started losing sight of all of that.
Yeah.
And I can't I've watched, especially some of the men that I work with, get in a space where they're like a king almost, in that whatever they say goes.
Right.
In their world, they got all the money they could want. When they get to the office, everybody's doing what they want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden they're not doing anything anymore where they're
Growing.
where they can't. I want to use where they have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
It's required. Like here, the barbell does it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lie,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's good about physical adversity. Doesn't really matter. Well, I'll know.
I'll know
Just
what's-
get
if
into
you
the
put in the
workout,
work,
and I'm
yeah.
going to know right away where you're at.
Right.
So we stop doing these things where we hold ourselves accountable, or hard things where there's not room for wiggling, and we're trying to be right inside of all the details instead of looking at the truth.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think something that we've talked about before, loyalty, because that's one of my anchor values, or
Yeah.
whatever we want to say.
Yep.
It's something very important to me, and something that I've been, I guess, burned on
Yeah.
quite a bit. But it's a two-way street, that was one of the things that, we talked about, because I was getting so caught up in some just loyalty stuff that we had going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it has to be reciprocated, or else it's not, I don't really have to show loyalty if it's not reciprocated,
Mm-mm.
but I would get so caught up in, well, I'm being loyal, why aren't they being loyal? And then I'm like, all right, well, if that's
Yeah.
the way they want to be,
Yeah.
then it's just, there's no, I don't know if does that make sense? I don't know if I'm saying it right,
100%. Like sometimes people mistake this idea of loyalty is that, I just have to do
but I
whatever
have to do it. Yep.
because I'm loyal to you.
Right.
And I don't, that doesn't actually play out or work in real
it
life.
doesn't work. No.
I'm going to be loyal to my children regardless. I'll step in front of a bus.
Right.
And I'm just going to sacrifice. I'll give it all.
Yeah. That's that's a little bit different than loyalty. That's more of sacrifice.
Right.
Though. Like
But
you're
then it
saying,
works
yeah.
out from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to be loyal to you
Yeah.
because you've been loyal to
Because
me.
we reciprocate it.
And I'm going to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that stays that way.
Right.
And also, you don't have to compromise your values
Mm-mm.
to be loyal to somebody.
No,
which I
and you
think is-
shouldn't.
Yeah,
You shouldn't.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of a common problem.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, 'cause
oh, you do it this way, you said that, so I'm going to be loyal, or I guess that's not
Yeah.
even the right word.
Right.
Like,
I think
change.
sometimes people see it as compromise, and I don't believe it's that way
No,
at all.
exactly.
It's justice. It's what's deserved
Mhm.
because it plays both ways.
Yep.
sometimes you're like, man, I don't feel like doing that for that person right there. But you know what? They deserve this.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I think, like you're saying, loyalty that isn't reciprocated then turns into sacrifice,
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
because then you're
Yeah, I
you're
agree.
taking that on
Yeah.
and that's yours, it's not theirs and you can't, loyalty you can kind of, project on somebody else, but sacrifice, then you're having to say, all right, I'm doing this because I think it's right, or, it's different.
It costs
it's
you.
different than loyalty.
Yeah, it does. It costs
it's
you.
like your kids. Like I
Yeah.
think of my kids are sacrifice versus loyalty.
Yeah.
I will sacrifice for my kids, and I hope there's some loyalty eventually. They're so young that it's, and most likely, in most cases there is, but there's some times where there isn't some loyalty.
Yeah. I've been at my situation with Brittany. I've talked about it multiple times where as she was kind of coming through that 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old stage, like she did all kinds of things that really hurt what I was trying to get accomplished, and I was salty.
Uh-huh.
Like, holy crap, you're my kid.
Right.
And you're sabotaging me.
Right.
Like I told you the story about getting called by the principal, and I'm working with all the kids in the school district who have drug and alcohol infractions. And he calls me up, and I'm thinking he needs me to come down and talk to another kid. And I get there, and it's my daughter.
Your own kid.
What are you doing? I just started getting paid to do this. And, like, you're trashing the whole thing, But as they get a little bit older, then they get it,
Yep.
I, I think Joab was, like, he was the truth. He was the truth, like
And
gravity.
No grace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't necessarily all that likable.
In this situation, for
proven.
Sure. Yeah.
He's a known commodity,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the truth.
It's a little impulsive at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but let's be honest with Absalom.
Mm-hmm.
Joab killed him, and it probably
Yeah.
needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, or else you were not going to have any coming back together. Even if they had captured him and not killed him,
Mm-hmm.
you're still not going to be able to bring Israel back as one. You see this kind of split of Judah and Israel. So
Well, it was in the previous chapter where he was like, wasn't it, where Absalom's hanging by the tree?
Yeah.
He just
And he was like, nobody was getting it done, and he's like,
nobody's
screw
gonna do
it,
it. He's like,
stab,
I'll
stab,
do it.
stab. Like, this is the truth. This is what has to be done. David's
going.
not up to it.
Yep. It's what needs to be done. Yeah. So Joab does catch a bad rap, and there is times where he's been kind of a little bit of the villain, I guess, or a anti-hero. He's not necessarily a villain per se. He gets more of a. See, it's hard for me at times, like I said, to disconnect this from Day of War at times because they do paint him a little bit more villainous. He's just more of a prick, He's just kind of arrogant and whatever. He's just not a likable guy, but he gets the job done, like.
Sometimes, like that, the truth, it's really harsh. It's hard to take, but it's the truth.
But it's the truth.
And he was that dude in David's life all the
Yep.
time. He kept showing up and doing the really hard things that David was wishy-washy about.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody likes that guy.
No.
That guy makes you uncomfortable,
Yep.
I think it's cool that it shows, like, just going back over David's life, like, multiple times people came to him through parables or different situations to, like, open his eyes because he couldn't see what he needed to see. Like, he couldn't get there on his own. He needed, like, a voice of somebody else. Not saying just Joab, but remember there's that parable of that lady who came and
Yep.
things like that. Like, I find that kind of,
The priests and different.
interesting, like, applicable to our own lives that sometimes we can't see it because we're so close to it. Or we need someone to tell us from the outside. I mean, the first part made me think of you, Jim, and like how you've given truth in times in my life where I needed truth. But I really came to you hoping for grace. I was like, I'm going to go talk to Jim. I need some grace.
Jim's
And
going to tell me what I need to hear.
and then you gave the truth, and that's what I needed. So it's cool to see that over and over again with David.
It's been really hard to be that kind of a person and to have that be that's who I am and like literally what I believe is purpose. And so that stinks sometimes to be that person, because there's lots of times that you see me coming, and
I know you think that when I see you coming, it makes me, oh, I don't want to talk. I've never once felt like that. I know if you're coming to talk, it's either we're just BSing, or
Right.
if it's something that needs to be handled, and it doesn't. Like I respect that you have that. Like I don't want to be that guy, but we need that guy around here. Honestly, you need somebody like that, and I know if I come to you, I can get the truth.
I think that it's Tasia is so full of grace. Everything that she does is the other side of it. Not that you can't be aggressive and competitive and all that, because you have, but your heart is really what pours out of you is, oh, let me just take care of this. The dog example,
Yep.
like where I probably would have been like, the dogs will make it back to the house. Let's keep running, you know?
See, that's what me and Tasia are for Haley.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah?
I'm Grace. You're
Tasia
true.
walks up to Haley. He's like, "It's okay. You know, you can do that." And I'm like, "She ain't doing that."
Yeah.
And Tasia, stop telling her she can do that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm
What
pretty,
was it the one time? that
I
she-
don't know.
She tried to look at you like she wanted you to back her up,
Yeah.
and Tasia just goes,
Nope.
because I was standing there. And
But there's sometimes I will give
Yeah,
not
yeah.
truth
she
for
needs
sure.
it. Yeah.
But for truth coming from me, truth coming from you,
I'm a
she's
little
like,
bit more blunt with my truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It,
I
it
haven't
hits
mastered.
different.
I haven't mastered the gym. Mine has
But-
a little bit more of annoyed / I can give the truth, but I've not mastered how
You give
to.
the truth with a little like zing, like
Yeah.
like slap.
Have you met Hillary?
Yeah.
Chase knows.
No sympathy.
No, no,
Only
Hillary's
truth.
all truth and no tact.
There
Yeah.
was when you were moving the rig in here,
Uh-huh.
and you were up on the rig one day, and Haley was gonna do some extra rowing,
Oh yeah.
and you kind of were acting like you didn't hear,
Uh-huh.
and I was rowing next to her,
Yep.
and she's like, she looks over at me and she's like, I want to do one more round, and I'm like, Rich said, don't do another round, like. Let's think about this. And I was talking about Grace versus Truth and that tool that we use in Mindset. And I was like Rich Froning, there's only a couple people on the planet that have the credentials to be speaking to you about what you should do. And he's one of them, and he's famous for overtraining
Mm-hmm.
by his own account.
Mm-hmm.
And he's telling you,
Stop.
don't do another round.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be crazy here.
Yeah.
And she was like, I just feel like somebody else
There's
is out
another
there.
2,000 meters, and I
Yeah.
was like, she's like, I think I'm gonna do another one. I was like, don't do another one. You don't need to. There's no benefit in it, whatever.
Right.
And she's like, ugh. And then I
Yeah.
just went about I said my piece and went about my business and was undoing the rig, and I just get so frustrated with her at times, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, and I get it.
But you have to be that, though, for her.
Yes,
Yes.
because
You
I
have to.
I get it. Like 100% understand where she's coming from and what she wants
Totally.
to do and how she feels, and that more and more is always better. Speaking from the almost 34-year-old, more is not always better. Like we've hit the desired stimulus.
Yes.
You're good. Like the other day, she got so mad at me because I was like, "No, stop. You're done. We're not doing any more."
Right.
And she's just like, and the thing is now I can see and check on her
Yeah.
on the Whoop stuff.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. No, whenever she asks me, be like, Rich would say no. I just saw him like, Rich would definitely say no. After the quarterfinals, the snatch, burpee, box jump over, and she's like, I'm gonna do it again.
I'm gonna do it
get
again and
faster.
like, and I'm gonna rest and do it again. I was like, no.
Well, I go no, and she goes, I'm gonna go ask Rich. I go, okay. Go ask Rich.
You know what he's gonna
He
say.
comes back and he's like, if anyone lets Haley do this workout again, you're never allowed
I was
back
like,
in
you're
the
not
barn."
coming back in the barn, and if you work for me, you're fired.
Yeah.
'Cause
This is totally like parenting.
yeah, it really is.
This
It's
is how,
preparing
like-
me for when
Yeah, like-
Lakeland and mainly Lakeland.
Good cop,
when
bad cop.
Lakeland gets, yep.
Yeah, and
Good cop.
I used to have those conversations in the background. Like,
Mhm.
okay, you want to be good cop, bad cop? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now you go talk to your dad. Boom,
Mhm.
you know, like,
Yep.
and then
Oh,
you're
that's so
you're
funny.
talking in the background about who's going to do what, try to shape them and try to hold them accountable, and
It's tough.
yeah. Well, that's who Joab kind of was
That's
here.
who Joab was, yeah.
He's the truth.
Chase.
I'm just soaking it in.
That's not really fair. You haven't been
Yeah,
No,
connected
it
to
is
this.
not
part of
fair.
You haven't been reading his Bible, you know.
Yeah.
so sad.
I'll listen to it on the way
I'm
here.
just kidding.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
goodness.
Yeah, so it goes on and talks about David's mercy here
Yeah.
to Shimei. I
Yeah,
don't know, anyway.
shimmy. I actually wrote something down from what's it called? Enduring Word that I thought was interesting. He said about him, this situation, he said, David could readily forgive a man who deserved to die because he was secure knowing that God gave him the throne. He said, insecurity is a great motivator for revenge and holding on to bitterness, which I found really interesting, like his security. Because David's not always been he's been merciful, but sometimes he's like, you deserve to die,
Yeah.
justice,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
you're going to die. But this situation, he's like,
He's not trying to show
Sure.
power here, you know. There's no need to. When people, I feel like when people need to show that they have power,
Mm.
that's when they're not that powerful.
Mhm.
But David's
interesting.
powerful here, and David's like, all right, you know, what's to be gained by this guy's, you know.
Mm.
I don't even was he mentioned before? I don't remember.
He was the one when David was walking by, I think, and he was like spitting like on him. Wasn't that him?
Mhm.
Spitting on David, like,
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
you blah blah.
Oh, that's
blah.
right.
Okay,
That's
so I already
right.
killed him. But that's
Yeah.
cool, you know.
And his
Yeah,
people
but
were
that's
like,
you.
execute him, and he was like, no, I deserve this, or whatever. Or he
Yeah.
felt like he might have deserved it.
Yeah. Huh.
I'm like really glad that I'm talking to this guy who's getting a divorce, and I'm working with this idea of the truth, and then I'm trying to figure out how to say all this, and I'll try to do it right here. Being right and wrong, and then telling the truth. Those are two very different things.
Yeah.
The truth is, and being right and wrong is connected to ego.
Yeah.
I'm arriving to have to be right, as opposed to tell you the truth,
Right.
because it is true. And this guy that I'm dealing with is bent out of shape, that at the end of 10 years, and he's got all these little details, and he's trying to be right at the end, and he misses that the experience is the total of the 10 years, not what she said to him at the end.
Right.
And then he's fighting to be right at the end based on what she said to him at the end, but he forgot that it's all about the whole experience.
Yep.
You can't, the truth is in the 30,000 foot view, not just in what happened at the end. And I'm super glad that Christ's perspective of me is 30,000 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Not one little.
not the first 26 years, because I'm screwed and I
Yep.
can't do it right enough times to make up for
Right.
being the king of fools.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you start looking at David's life, man, it's sort of like that. Like he was so dialed in early,
Mm-hmm.
and then it got lazy and comfortable and sloppy, and at the end, and you're starting to kind of like there's all this I need to be right and wrong
Yeah.
instead of really. Does this make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
The truth of the whole thing,
Yep.
but we get to read it and see it, which is cool.
Yeah, you
So,
start to see him come back around here,
Right.
and give some mercy. Going kind of opposite to that, but same vein. Would you rather be happy or right?
Yeah.
That was one of the best
Yeah.
pieces of marriage advice I ever got.
You want to be married? You want to stay
Sometimes
married? You want
it's
to be
just
right? Yeah.
it ain't worth it.
No.
This one little thing, if it's a major thing, obviously, then
Yeah.
But it gets to the point where I'm like, I don't even care. Why are we talking about this or discussing this angrily?
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. So
Chase knows. Happy wife,
Yeah,
happy life.
happy
happy
life.
wife, happy life for sure. But I'm not just saying it from my perspective. I think either side of the thing is like, why do we get so caught up in some of the details or us having to be right? And we can disagree.
Mm.
Like it's okay, and that goes to what's going on the planet right now. Is like, yes, there are certain things that you always talk about. Or is it a mountain I'm willing to die on,
Yeah.
or is it like a day-to-day thing that is really not going to affect us that much? Where it's like, you know what, you can take this one. So.
The thing that if you can enter into the discussion and you can say, like, with an honest heart,
Mhm.
I'm not talking about
Yeah.
screwing around, honest heart, I don't really need to be right here.
Yep.
But I certainly want to represent the truth.
Right. This is what I believe.
Right.
But I'm not willing to
Right.
like drag this
The
on.
being right thing takes your ego out of it.
Exactly.
So now we don't show up going, man, I'm telling you, this
Yep.
is what it is.
Mhm.
We go, oh, what's the truth?
Right.
And sometimes it's just grace and it's sacrifice, because that's what's necessary if you
Mhm.
care about that person. And sometimes it's, hey, man, I'm telling you right now, you're fired.
Yeah.
I'm your boss. It's my job or
Or it is,
responsibility.
a track record of things
Right.
too. And I've tried to, as I've gotten older or wiser, you try to think of when people make decisions. You like sit back and you're like, all right, how did they grow up? What were their parents like? What were their role models, or how were they why did they come to this decision that I don't agree with?
Mm.
And try to put myself in those shoes, and it's actually helped a little bit. It's I can't. I make the decisions I make because the way I was raised. It's just
Yeah.
up until probably I'd say last 5 or 6 years, and then now I'm starting to like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, let's really look at this. I was doing some of that, but in the last couple of years, I've kind of stepped back and be like, all right,
Yeah.
I think this way. This is why I believe this, because this is how I was raised. But why does somebody else believe that? Oh, I can kind of see why
Mhm.
they do that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but
Right.
it's I
That's
think
the
that comes
perspective
with
they arrive
maturity.
with
Yeah,
here.
Exactly.
I don't want to make it seem like there are things that
Oh,
we
yes.
have to be right about.
For sure.
And we have to
Yes,
stand for
I'm
it,
not
for sure.
saying yes, but I'm saying just minor or just
Yeah.
little details, or
Yeah.
even on major things. Why do they get to that point, and how can we come
Yeah.
together somehow
100%.
on it? So
As a parent, somebody said this to me one time, like, say yes as many times as you can, because you're going to have to say no all of the time. And that was really good for
Yeah.
me because there were so many things, that big mountains. I got to be right here.
Mhm.
Yes, child, you're an idiot, and
Yeah.
I love you,
Yeah.
and you're not doing that.
Yeah. Hey, Trice, don't jump in those bushes because there's
Right.
a rose bush in there.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
I told you once. I'm not going to tell you a bunch of times. Oh, it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's happened this morning.
Yeah, like stuff like that. So where can I be like?
Let them figure it out on their own,
yeah,
kind of.
Yeah. Or you do your hair any way you want.
It's not. That's
Uh,
oh man.
what
That
do
was
you-
such our biggest. Mine and Hillary's argument as a kid. Like when we had when Lakeland started like dressing. She's like, "You don't let her wear that." I'm like, "Yeah." She looks ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What like? It's what she wants to wear.
Brittany could not coordinate anything
Right.
when she was little.
Yeah.
So I tried to scale it, right?
Uh-huh.
I gave her one day, and I turned it into a positive. Today's your wear all your favorite
Whatever
things
you
day.
want to wear. Yep.
But the rest of the time, you got to have some input from
Yep,
me. So she
yep.
couldn't wait for Friday. And
She
she
could wear
looked
whatever
like an
she
idiot
wants.
when she went out the door.
I think there's some
But-
levels because I remember my mom brought me this like royal blue eyeshadow and nobody should let me wear that. So
No,
the
no.
only makeup I had on was
Heck
royal blue
yeah.
eyeshadow up to here, and that was accepted
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah. That's
Nobody
good.
told me, hey, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
So we needed some direction
Yeah.
sometimes.
No, that's good.
I will brag on Lakeland. I sent it to Tasia last night because I figured she'd enjoy it. Lakeland
pumped.
jumped up. She went up from a 1 to a 2 in gymnastics.
Oh.
Oh,
Impressive.
She's only been doing it for like a month, too.
She is very
She's super
coordinated.
And she's been out here like up on these parallel bars
Yeah.
like crazy. But
I'm always impressed. The other day, she just had a band and she was bouncing back and forth, which is something simple, but she does it with grace. Like her like movement is fluid, where like a normal child doesn't.
no.
Just
Have
extremely
that.
athletic.
so funny. But yeah, she got moved up. So
That's
she was
awesome.
kind of like, I think I'm over gymnastics. And then she got moved up. She's like, okay, I'm back.
I'm back
But I
in.
think she gets to do like more,
Yeah.
a little bit more difficult. So I think she gets bored
Yeah.
Yeah.
because she is pretty
Good.
good about that stuff. So I thought you'd enjoy that. That's why I sent that
Yeah.
last night. 'cause
Excited.
Trice worked
she's
out with
fired
me
up.
yesterday.
Yeah.
It was so awesome. He stayed right in it.
He
I
was out
just
there for like 20 minutes. I looked out.
26 minutes
just
is what the
going back
workout
and
was, and he was
forth.
with, like he had I had a 40-pound dumbbell because I've been kind of cleared to do some weight
He was
now.
picking up a 40?
40.
Wow.
3
I
reps.
saw him picking it up.
3 reps every time. I was thinking, I don't know. What would Rich do? He'd let him lift it.
Hey, if he can lift it, let him lift it.
Every
Holy
time he
cow.
got done, he'd put it down, and then he just went full on most
Flex.
muscular, just like "Ugh," like that. And he picked up another one. He did 2, and I'm like, you got to have one more. He did 5 pulls on the rower, 3 deadlifts, and then whatever he
Saw him
wanted to
sit
do.
up.
Sit-ups, I
ab mat.
saw,
with
yeah.
on the ab
What's
mat.
he doing? I was like, Jim, just push him out of the way.
Then we
because
got done, and we were leaving, and this is the best part. I said, I got to go. He's like, where you got to go? I got to go home to dinner with my wife. He goes, I love you, Jim.
I love you,
So
John.
man.
sweet.
Such a sweet boy.
He's
I'm
the
just
man.
like, God dang it.
That
Oh,
kid is such a
sweet.
lover.
I love you. I love you,
Dad.
Jim. I love you too, man.
Every morning. I love you, Dad.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad. I love you, Dad. I sleep good. Because every morning I say, you sleep good, man? Yeah, I slept good. Hey, Dad.
This is the other thing. I told him, like, to keep him going, I'm like, we're competing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to win.
Yeah.
So he
Oh,
finished,
yeah.
and he's like, did we win? Did we win? I said, we won,
we
man.
won.
We won. And he high-fived me, and he goes, we're winners, and they're all losers. And he goes, that girl
Nah.
over there, what's her name? I said, Janae, she's a loser.
What?
Yeah, he started telling everybody they were losers, and then he goes, except for my dad.
Except for my dad.
My dad's a winner.
My dad.
Okay, so
Okay.
who's the winners? And he, like, the 3 of
Yep.
us.
Oh, man, it's so fun now. That they'll come out here. Go, Dad. Go, Dad.
God.
Go,
Yeah.
Dad. And I'm just
So
like,
good.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if I'm in the middle of something. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
It's so fun, though, because go, Dad. Go. Violet will just come in here. Go, Dad. Go,
Well, think
Dad.
about, like, David
Yeah.
and Absalom.
Yeah.
Think about how much you love that boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That would be hard.
How, to be the leader,
Mm-hmm.
to have your son
Try to take
100% trying to take it, so he's turned on you.
it and then gets
No
killed.
loyalty.
And then Chase kills him.
Yeah. And then Chase stabs him, to be analogous here. But think about how his heart must have felt,
Yeah.
seriously.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so
know,
torn.
like-
so torn. Yeah, because you can't say what you would do in that situation.
No.
I can't.
Somebody, how would you go after your son
I love
with all the love?
you cannot. I can't put into words how much I love my kids,
Yeah.
and then in the next minute how much I want to strangle my kids.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you'll get there. Don't worry.
I'm
But-
trying to figure it out.
That's true.
I
It'll
love
happen.
But I mean,
All the time.
we've used this analogy all the time. I did not understand unconditional love
Mm,
until I had kids,
Mm.
and now I get it. And I can't imagine,
mm.
how much David loved his son, and then for his son to betray him,
Mm.
and then for his son to be killed. Like, you can't.
Mm-mm.
I can't fathom it.
No, you would have to be able, especially if you were king, have somebody come along and help you there.
Yeah, you'd
'cause you
have to.
couldn't
You'd
do
be
it.
broken.
It'd be impossible.
You'd be broken. And, you know, it'd be tough, you know, because like he said, your men would leave you or desert you, and you're like, you know, if the men were in that situation, like, I don't, you know, if
Yeah.
I was in that situation, so if I was one of his men and I saw that happen, like, there's got to be some,
Yeah.
you know, pity there, I guess, or
Yeah.
some like understanding. It's so hard.
Well, it's
so
crazy too
complicated.
because when you're talking about my children, I don't care about what other people
No,
think at that
no, I
point.
don't.
At
No.
that point,
No.
everybody else can go to hell.
Right, exactly.
You know, like
But what I'm saying is, if I was one of his men,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
can I put myself in his shoes? Like,
yeah.
that's why, you know, everybody talks about this just being an old book. But I mean, there's so many situations like that. You got
There's
kids
so much truth in
that
it.
are in, you know, some type of drug or alcohol or whatever, any type of trouble and constant trouble,
Right.
and their parents will just keep trying to help them and keep trying to help them.
Yeah.
And we're all like, oh, you're an enabler and you're an enabler when you're thinking about it. But then you're like,
Mm.
what would I do in that situation, you know? I would try to, I mean, I want my kids happy.
Mm.
Phew, it's
Kicking
tough.
my daughter out of the house was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And only arriving in that space and understanding that it was do or die.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I compromised in that moment,
Yeah.
it was over.
Over.
Like everything that I had said to her and taught her to that moment was on the line.
Yeah.
And if I allowed any of that, and I literally said to her, you can't expect me to be any other man than the one I've always been.
Nope.
I'll give you 3 days to
Consistent.
get out.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm like, what's the movie Taken? Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Like she's going to Sweden, and I'm like panicked every night, going, what happened?
Yeah.
And then literally like, let's rethink this whole thing. I don't even know that it was worth it to have done all I did.
Yeah.
Quit the job, did all the things, and then then it comes down to, I got to do what's right because it's right.
That's right.
Because I say
'Cause
it's
that's
right
what
and
you
I
live
believe
by.
it,
Yep.
and it can't be about anybody else,
Mm-mm.
you know, in the analysis. And David gets stuck in, that's a hard thing to be king, you
Heck
know?
yeah.
That's a hard thing to be
Yeah.
king. I wouldn't want that.
By yourself.
Mm.
You really, I mean, when
Yeah,
all the decisions come and end through you.
yeah,
Lonely at the top,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what they say.
yeah, for sure.
If you want to rock and roll. No, that's not it, right?
That's in Proverbs.
Oh, okay.
It's lonely at the top.
Is that
Hashtag.
Solomon?
Yeah, I'm sure.
An argument over the king. So basically, the tribes are now jealous. In, you know, the 10 or 11 other tribes are like, hey, we came back first.
Yeah.
And Judah's like, well, he's ours.
Don't you love human nature?
Right, right.
Mm.
Hey, we screwed up, but we didn't screw up as bad.
Yeah.
You know, like we came back first.
Mm. That's going on right now.
Yeah.
Right versus left,
Yep.
ideology, culture war, all that going on.
Oh.
Hey, you know, we're right, you're wrong, we were
Oh.
here 1st.
Mm-hmm. Told you so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't, like, I think for me, spiritually, I think we have to have answers spiritually, mentally, and physically. All 3 of those areas are important. Try to walk out God's plan for your life if your health fails.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to do everything God has for you, so we got to pay attention to that. We've got to figure out how to be in control of our emotions. We feel first. It's just true. It's like
what we do.
gravity.
That's what we do.
This experience is to feel first. The limbic part of your brain fires first. So we got to be able to work at that,
And
get that under
separate it.
control.
Yep.
But spiritually, for me, like, and I go back to David, like, he kept going back to his personal relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
His heart was to go back to God and hear from God prior or before all those other things, and that's, to me, the most important part. Like,
Yep.
if I'm not talking to God and it's not real, alone in the dark in the wilderness,
It's
then
not real.
then the rest of it starts to just become a bunch of rules,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden we're in trouble. You don't know how to get back
Sure.
out of it and re-aim and refocus and find
If
your
it's not-
center
If
or
it's
whatever.
not real to you, or you don't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, connect with it,
Mm-hmm.
it's your soul, then
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said, it's rules.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, why so many people love David, because it's so analogous to our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's very real.
Yep.
Other than he's,
A king.
yeah, and way better than me. You know, like, I mean, like,
Play the harp, man.
I know.
You play
What's
the
up? No.
I'd like to play guitar one
can't
day.
play
Still
anything.
play the
I don't
harp?
have
Do
time.
are there still harps? Like,
I'm sure there is still a harp somewhere.
Yeah, people play the harp.
I
You
wish
could
it was
probably
played
Google
more.
it. Like
Why
on
don't
The
you learn
Big
to play
Bang
the harp?
Theory. that
I
one
feel like
chick
a
plays
harp's
the
got to be
harp.
expensive.
Hmm?
I feel like it's got to be expensive. It's pretty like big, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if that's your thing? Like you CrossFitted, then you went home in the evening and
Played
played
the
your
harp.
harp.
Dusty used to play the violin.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Can he play like The Devil Went Down to Georgia?
That's
fiddle,
I don't know about
isn't it?
that.
That's a fiddle.
Fiddle.
He used to play the Star Wars.
Did he really?
Hey,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
That's impressive.
Ask him about it today.
James, I'll ask old James about that today. That's good. Yeah, I think, like we said at the end there, it's human nature, like you're
Yeah.
saying, that, hey, we were the ones that came back. They were all in the wrong.
Yeah.
They all deserted the king. Now they're like, yeah, but we were only wrong for, a couple weeks and a day, and you were wrong for a couple weeks and a couple days.
Yeah, I think it's good just to recognize that we each have that in us, right?
Mhm.
That's like our human nature to be evil or to be this type of way. So we can kind of be like, okay, I felt that feeling.
We
Now
need
let
Jesus.
me step back
Yeah.
and reassess how I should act or what I should say or what I should do.
A check for me has always been this offended thing for me. Like, then it's human nature to feel first. We've just talked about that. And if you're a faith person and you're saying human nature, then that means God designed it, right? So that's pretty
Yep.
interesting to remember.
Yep.
Sure.
That's how he made us. So offended, if I get offended and I find myself in that spot, nobody can actually offend you. It's a choice that you make.
have to be offended.
Yeah, like that's free rent you're giving away in your head. And so
Mhm.
every time I start to feel offended, what I realize is that I'm not good with my words.
Mhm.
I'm not articulating that situation well enough.
Right.
And I've got to go do some work here for me.
Right.
Because whether or not I'm right or wrong doesn't really matter in that space.
Mhm.
What's the result, right?
Right.
If you want to go live in, like, you guys are really used to being super present in a ton of adversity,
Mhm.
physical adversity. Your emotions are not out of control, and you're present, and you're working hard. And
Most of the time. Just kidding.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
There are people who come into this kind of adversity and it crushes them.
Mm-hmm.
The truth of the barbell crushes them like gravity.
Right.
They're not ready for it. It
Mhm.
doesn't set you free. It crushes you. So I don't know, man. For me, I got to be checking my heart all the time, man. If I'm getting upset and I'm getting offended about something and I'm starting to think about me, that's a problem.
Something's wrong there.
Yeah.
For the most part, too, I notice that when I get offended, it's like a reflection of my own brokenness, like
Mm.
something I'm personally struggling with or
Yeah,
something.
it hits that chink in your arm or somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
And so you don't even think you're like mad at them, but it's actually like a reflection of something that's inside of you.
Yeah,
That's really
That's
true.
good. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, usually it's something that you're self-conscious about, usually.
A lot of times, too, when that happens, there's that truth is for you.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of hits you like,
Mhm.
ooh, and now I'm offended
Okay,
because,
okay. You don't know that about me.
yeah,
Get out of my head.
yeah, and it probably needs to be said.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah,
probably should
exactly.
say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should receive that.
Yep, for sure. Anything else? No? Glad you sat here for 45 minutes.
It was great having you
It was good to
here.
have you, Chase.
Yeah.
It's always good to
Thanks,
see.
guys.
Yeah.
That hat looks really good on you, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It doesn't
That's
look good
like
on me.
that.
It's
Is
too,
that
Picked
an
this up
Insta
at
store?
the
too big
Mayhem
in the front
store.
for me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, getting ready for semifinals.
Semifinals.
I have to remember not to
Semi?
say
Or
regionals.
Semi?
Is
Semi?
it semi or semi?
Semifinals?
I think
Semifinals?
semi is a truck.
Honestly, I have no idea.
I
Now I
kept
feel
calling it
embarrassed. I don't
semi.
really know.
Sectionals?
Sectionals. When does this go down? I know when this comes out.
Last
it'll be a
weekend
few
of
weeks away.
Memorial Day, or last weekend of Memorial Day. Last
2
weekend
weeks,
of May,
isn't it?
Memorial
2
Day
weeks?
weekend.
Knoxville.
Knoxville.
That's
Let's
your
go.
home, man. You're just
Yeah.
gonna
Chase's
get to
neck
go
of
out
the
the
woods.
front
Backyard.
door.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Gonna crush it.
Are you guys excited about it?
Yeah.
2 more weeks.
2 weeks.
That's cool, man.
Everyone all at once. We're gonna have like
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody will
Em,
be there.
Angelo,
Haley,
Haley.
Angela.
I
yeah.
know that's the
Luke.
coolest part. Everybody be together.
it's gonna be really cool.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be screaming. No, probably
Yay.
not. Don't
Yay.
wish I was that guy, but
No, you don't. You don't have to be that guy.
okay.
All right, Tage,
Wanna pray?
pray us out.
All right.
To play us out. What does that mean, to pray us out?
I don't know.
That's, you ever seen that?
No.
No.
You ever seen that O'Reilly where he
No.
freaks out? Oh,
No.
I gotta play this after. It's
Bill
not,
O'Reilly?
It's not NSFW. What is it? Not safe for work? Yeah, and it's not NSFW. Yeah, Bill O'Reilly.
Spin stops here.
It's
and
good.
it
Just
did.
wait. I'll show you. It's
Okay.
good.
Okay. Heavenly
He cannot
Father.
separate his emotion.
Thank you, Jesus, for this day, God, for each person at this table, Lord, and everyone listening to this podcast, God. Thank you just that your mercies are new every morning, Lord. I know that I need that every day. I pray that we give grace to those who need grace and that we give truth when it's necessary, God, and that if truth is given to us, we can accept it without being offended, Lord. I pray that this message just reaches to everyone on the other side, God, and thank you so much for your sacrifice. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.